All right, welcome back to Inside the 90. Jamie, we are sitting in my favorite time of year, a little gap between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So,
Tis the season.
Tis the season. You ready for Christmas?
I am. I'm getting there. So, my pattern is that you get all the deadlines and everything trying to knock out like for this week, right? So we have like 9 trains on tracks moving 100 miles an hour right now, trying to finish all these projects from a work perspective. And then next Friday, I'll be like, all right, it's Christmas time. Yes. I got to start some shopping.
Yeah, 1 week of grind.
I am going to dinner with Beth tonight, and I've got to ask her, like, all right, what is it you want for Christmas? Because I haven't asked yet.
And you have a week.
I have week and a half.
Well, a week and a half until Christmas.
Yes, yeah.
But if you want to be at least a little bit ahead,
yes. So, but no, it is an awesome time of year, and we're just exceptionally busy right now, which is a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. It's Thanksgiving. I think is my favorite holiday because there's not a lot of obligation to do, but you get some time, and it's usually surrounded by family. So, and it just kind of kicks that season off, and now we're in it. You get back into work, you grind for a few weeks, and you get another break. Yeah. Kind of sit back and relax. So,
yeah, it's a great time for reflection. I think just naturally, once I hit December, I do start moving into, all right, well, we got to really start focusing on stuff for next year, whether it's personal, business, or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I'm kind of a fresh start guy. So I'm a New Year's resolution guy, and which is why I started the gym this week. This is why I have my T-Rex arms right now, because I can't move them. But I was like, I'll start now instead of January. But I do really like the fresh start.
Absolutely. Love it.
Cool. Well, so today we're going to kick off a topic on founder-led sales. And to set the stage, I've, in the past few years, had the opportunity to work with several entrepreneurial support organizations and be involved and really start talking about the different phases of companies. And I like the 5. I give credit to Scott Millwood here in Greenville, who was the founder of Next and really established these 5. But your seekers, those that are out, searching, they want to start a business. They may have an idea, may not. Your starters, like all right, you sold something, you're getting moving. Your growers, which is, all right, you've found product market fit, you're now growing. And then your scalers, which is like, all right, now we know what we're doing to build the system to really scale this organization. And then once you hit that, you hit a mature, a business, then the opportunity to be a giver and turn that back around and now help others in that channel. Right. And kind of give back and help them go through those things, which I think is something that you've experienced all of those and now spend a good amount of your time giving back to those other organizations. So when we talk about founder-led sales, which you want to talk about the starter, the grower, the scaler? So
let's just hit maybe a little bit of each, and then we're going to spend most of our time in the grower.
Okay.
And from the growing, transitioning into scaling.
Okay.
But to understand from the starter perspective, I forget who I've heard this, so I have to credit somebody. I just forget who it is. So maybe we can find it and put in the notes. But really, as a founder, if you're a single founder, the 2 skill sets that you have to be able to harness, and if you don't have them, learn them quickly, is the ability to sell and know your numbers.
Yep.
And if you're a team of 2 founders, then somebody takes sales and somebody takes financial literacy on your business, right? And so I think from a starter perspective is like just knowing that you have to work that muscle. You're gonna need to be a founder-led sales organization to really start and get things going, because you're ultimately going to be building the plane a little bit while you're flying.
Yeah.
And then we get into growing, which is growing really is nailing down that product market fit. And I'm hesitant to say that you have it and now you're growing, because I think even by saying we have product market fit, we a lot of times we'll sell things that are not into our product market fit, or we make them bigger than they should, or go off track a little bit. So it's really determining the product market fit from step 1 kind of through growing. And then when we get to scale, we have it and we are just pumping resources into it to do it at a high level and consistent and more velocity.
Yeah, and I think that aligns with these 3 tiers that we talk about too. Like, so if you're getting started, like when you're getting started, especially if you're a professional services firm of some type, it's like sell and figure it out, right? All those sales are experimental.
Yes.
And then you move from experimental to project based. Like, all right, we can do all these things. Then you're like, well, we do these few things well. And that becomes kind of like a transactional project based sell. But really, once you get to a systematic solution and someone's hiring you for your approach, your belief, your system, then that's, I think, where you're now hitting that, all right, we can grow the system. And then ultimately you want to get to where you scale the system.
Absolutely. So let's dive in. I have a kind of a 5-step approach that I have built on this. I built it from a standpoint of a professional services firm or some type of service that you're providing. It's not a product base because a product is different.
Yep.
You have product market fit a little bit easier. There's more testing, but it's just a different course of action to do it. This is for a services base. So marketing agencies, technology services, right? Law firms, any type of service-based organization. Yep. And the goal is to go from, I'm a founder, I'm doing everything in sales. So business development, doing follow-ups, building solutions, onboarding the client, probably even maintaining some level of connection and ensuring that they're successful and happy over time. So all gamuts of sales. We want to go from that to a system in place, a sales engine with the playbook, with the team that's operating at a high level. So that's the bridge, or the two brackets we're trying to bridge. Is that aligned?
Yeah. So you broke that down. So I think you hit 5 categories there. Mm-hmm. So yours, if I'm a single founder, or even if I'm a selling founder, what were those 5 categories that you just hit?
5 categories.
Well, you talked about your business development, areas. Your follow-up.
Yes.
Because I think that's important.
Yeah. So it's business development. It's follow-ups. So just kind of the organization and making sure that we CRM work, right? It's solutioning. It's onboarding the clients, and then account management.
Yeah.
And making sure that they're successful. So those are the 5.
And how'd you land on those 5?
I honestly just kind of thought through all the different touch points of a client and what aspects you can delegate. And that would make sense. Yeah. So let's go through, because I think we started this on product market fit. So the product market fit for a solution-based organization, like a service-based organization, the first thing we need to do is we need to live in one. So we need to create our go-to-market strategy. And so let's just go like a marketing agency, right? Because it's the world, we all kind of can get our arms around like understanding a marketing agency. And what go-to-market strategy is there's 3 answers that we need. One is, what is our target market? Demographic, geographic, psychographic, firmographic of our ideal client.
Yes.
And so those are things like size of organizations, the type of industries, where they're located, the type of business that they do. It could be a title that we work with well, a business unit. It could be, and then you get into the psychographic is, how do they think?
Correct. Do they believe what we believe? That's one of the things
we believe.
Yeah, right? Hold very firm is, you as a service provider, does the client value what you value and believe what you believe?
Yeah. So you build that out. That's one component of the go-to-market strategy. The next is what in EOS we deem the 3 uniques. But really what this is if we're in a category, if somebody can put us in a bucket like a marketing agency, what is different about us? So that, and there's 2 lenses. One is, what's the value we're bringing them? So what do you get out of it? Or this is what makes us different, and this is what makes us unique. So you nail down those 3 things. And then finally, you build a proven process, which is the relationship of that prospect from the first time we meet into a happy customer. And you define those 3 things. And if you define those 3 things, you then live in it. And I say this all the time. I can go into any prospect meeting, and those are the only 3 things I need to have a good conversation. And it's going to open up the conversation that we need to have and provide the right information. And so the founder needs to live in that. Use those 3 and use those in every conversation you're having so you can just continue to strengthen that and land in a spot that's going to help you build a stronger product market fit.
Yeah, and I think an important component of that is if you're hearing this for the first time, or you hear this and you want to go do these things, is understanding that we're not starting with perfect, right? We're starting with a draft that we can commit to for 90 days minimum, and we can live in it and marinate in it for 90 days. And then as we use it and we test it and we get product market we get feedback from clients, you live in it, you start realizing that, okay, we may have been 60 or 70% good, but now you're refining it, but you are committed to it. And you're living in it, and you're not reactionary and changing it after every interaction.
Because you talk to a ton of founders trying to go through this, and they're like, well, no one can really do it like I do because I just listen to what they're saying and then I can just react to it. Well, like, that's all right if you just only want to be the one person doing it.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. It's not a bad approach if you just want to be a one-man show and build it. But that's not what we're talking about here. So we have to start to understand our communication and tighten that up. And so what this looks in the real world is, so if I'm saying I'm going to sell a client EOS services, right? I'm going to be a EOS coach for them. So I have those 3 components, and the way it looks like for me is any conversation I can sit in, I can say, here is who I work with, right? I work with organizations between 10 and 250 employees, right? That are based in the upstate of South Carolina, that are privately held organizations, and the founders and the entrepreneurs are growing. They're excited about where their organization is going, yet they've hit some type of ceiling. Mm-hmm. And so there's a little bit of frustration, whether it's people frustration or, look, things used to be easier and now it's a little bit more difficult. And we're just getting stuck and we don't know why. And that leadership team is willing to be vulnerable with themselves and the people around them in order to work through it as a team and come to the other side. So that is my target market. And so when I sit down, I can talk to somebody about that, and then they can ask good questions. Yeah. Oh, well, I don't fit that exactly. And we could talk about what that would be like, or maybe where the points are that, we can still do it, or maybe not. It may not be the right timing. And then you have the 3 uniques: vision, traction, and healthy. So when working together, we're going to instill vision, traction, and healthy. Vision from a standpoint of how do we get everybody on the same page with where we're going, how we're going to get there, because oftentimes we're not, right? We're not on the same page. Second is how do we instill traction? So discipline, accountability, tools, and meeting cadences to ensure that we're going to set up to achieve our vision. And then finally, healthy, which is we want to build a cohesive team of people that love doing work together, but are open or honest, and they're willing to put things out on the table and solve them for the greater good. And so those are the 3 uniques. And the way we do that is our process, right? And here we go through. So those 3 components, you put them together, and I just live in that language constantly, get feedback, come back after a month of doing it, tweak it, go back, live in the new language over and over and over. And if you live in those 3 pieces, you're really going to start to build out that product market fit.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons so many people have, I don't want to say latched on, but I think that's one of the reasons EOS is so successful, is it's easy to dance around and kind of come up with your own language and try to navigate it on your own. But when you really do just get it, like you just told a very clear, informative story of what good looks like for you and what good will look like for clients that are interested in that, right? And you didn't cater the story, right? You just said, this is what good looks like for me, and this is what a good client looks like for me. And that's very appealing because people want the success. And so when you can say this is success for me and my clients, and they see that, it's like, all right, that makes total sense.
And you're having real conversations.
Yes.
If they say I'm 8 employees and you said your target market is 10 to 250, is this even going to work?
Correct. We had that conversation for 100%.
Us. Yes. Now we can talk about the complexities that naturally are there and why it may not be the target market, but it can still work. But let's just have that conversation. And now we're having real conversations that matter around the relationship that we're going to have together.
And I think I go back to one of our conversations too early on because I was concerned about us implementing EOS with a small team. And there were two things. One, I had been through a formal implementation before. And then two, you said you've already got product market fit, right? So even when we started the business, we've done it before. So we knew what our product market fit was going to be. Yeah. Now, it's evolved, right? We're fine tuning it. But I think that's been very helpful for us to understand that, even though we were small, we knew exactly who we were going to go after, what services we were going to provide, and what that looked like.
And we have a podcast on when to start EOS, and we go deep into that one. So I think go there. So that, though, is that's step number one. And you really can't go to step number two without doing that and having at least 80% confidence in what you have built out. Yeah. Because now other people can take that and say it and live in it alongside you. And now we're starting to create alignment out into the market, right? Yeah. And so once we have that and we're starting to I'm starting to we feel good. If it's lived for 6 months, it's probably on the third iteration. Now, how do we start scaling this?
Well, I want to hit what that is are those three things, right? Yes. So we're talking about target market, uniques, and proven process.
Exactly.
Those three things.
Yep. Which together make our marketing strategy in EOS.
Yes.
Now we're going. So the second step in this is break sales apart. So we started this on the 5 categories, right? So break sales apart in those 5 categories. If we're a service-based organization, we have business development, which is go out, network, work with referral partners, asking clients for connections, right? You have to be out there being accessible and being visible and letting people know you're there, right? Then it's following up on those relationships that you're creating, having a CRM and making sure that people are moving down a pipeline. The third component is solutioning. So actually getting into the room with the client, the prospect at this point, and building what that solution is going to be. I think of this more on the technical side of sales.
So like engineering, architects.
Exactly right. Then we go into onboarding. So, we want to do this work. Now there's a getting that client up and running, and then account management, the full thing. And why we break these apart is just understanding the 5 of yours, and it may look a little different, right? But that's just
you nailed it for us. Those are literally, that's our journey this year, all 5 of those.
And that's a traditional services base. I think you're going to hit those. So when you have those 5, now you need to ask yourself, what do you want to do? Okay. And here's where people mess up, I think, is who could I get to fill those spaces, right? But you as the founder, what gives you energy? Like for me, it's business development. I get energy by going out and being part of the community. I don't know, what is it for you? Probably not biz dev?
Yeah, I think the biz dev. I think the qualifying, the initial conversations, and then the solution shaping.
And solutioning. Yeah, so biz dev and solutioning. Definitely not follow-ups.
Not my thing.
Right? Definitely not account management.
By itself, but not when you're looking at all 5. Like that's the thing I got, because that's the service and the delivery, right?
Yeah. So you need to know what you want to do and where you want to live, and then don't feel like you have to get rid of that.
Yeah.
That can be way down the road. Own that piece of the puzzle because you enjoy it and you're gonna do it well.
And so on that, specifically founder-led sales in professional services, I've David Baker of Two Bob's podcast. If you haven't listened to that, it's amazing for professional services firms. But going way back, he talks about the roles that founders have to hold and the roles they have to let go of. So he talks about letting go of pricing and delivery.
Yeah.
But founders have to lead the firm. They're responsible for closing deals. So, the letting go of business development is a logical thing because someone can qualify and bring deals in. But the last thing you're going to let go of is actually closing the deals.
Yeah. So to me, in that world, in the 5, that's solutioning.
Yeah.
In my world, I think that's solutioning and getting the deal across the line, right? Which would make sense. I think even in building this out, solutioning is the one that I would see the founder being in the longest.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So once you know those 5 where you want to be, then you start understanding the trigger points that you're going to bring somebody in for those. And you could bring somebody in or delegate one of them, but typically you may do two. So you may bring somebody in to do follow-ups and onboarding, right? You may bring somebody in to do onboarding and account management. But where I see people go wrong is they bring somebody in to do all of it.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, I got another salesperson with me. Let's just shadow me and you'll figure it out. It never works.
Correct.
Never works well. So understanding which one of those, and then you create triggers that when we land 3 more accounts, we will delegate follow-ups and onboarding.
Yeah. And
then now you have a plan and you just do it and you use your accountability chart, roles and responsibilities to know what roles they're going to be taking over. So that is all in kind of the next 2 to 3 steps is breaking apart and then then the delegation. Once we now have other team members coming in and they're taking those pieces, okay, we can never lose the go-to-market, the strategy. We never lose the marketing strategy. We keep tweaking that, and that becomes our glue through all of this.
Correct.
But now we need to layer in a little bit of accountability and a cadence. So put a level 10 meeting in place for that team. Have a scorecard that team comes in and it's activity based on the functions they're holding. And then in that team, you do sprints and you build campaigns. And so what I mean by that is if we have our marketing strategy, and I just gave you kind of mine, and in my world is I could do a campaign for 90 days, which is, you know what? Let's put a focus on manufacturers in the upstate of South Carolina. There's a manufacturing conference coming up. There's 2 associations we could get involved with. And so here's our tweak on the marketing strategy for that group. And we're all going to go hard after that for the next 90 days.
Yep.
And do those sprints rather than trying to just throw spaghetti against the wall and scorch gears. It's going to get you further.
And I think in doing that, in that 90-day cadence, right? If you're just saying, hey, a sprint is 90 days, that's a quarter. Mm-hmm. It's a logical business. It's timing, right? It's if you look at what it takes to roll out a campaign, you really are saying planning now. We're in Q4 of 2025. So you should be looking towards the end of 2026 and saying, all right, we need to have sold 3 clients in manufacturing. Mm-hmm. We need to have sold 3 clients in this other vertical. So then you've got to plan out that, all right, well, we've got to plan for a quarter before we can sprint for a quarter, right? So if you start looking at that, it gives you from a marketing planning perspective a view to see like, all right, if we plan Q1 and we execute to Q2 on the campaign A, we can be planning campaign B in Q2, executing it in Q3, and then you realize that your Q1 activities of planning that Q2, you're actually not seeing the results of that till Q3, right? It gives you a logical frame to see that we've got to plan it, we got to do it, and we got to give results time to happen.
Absolutely.
And you just take that from a campaign approach and plan it out with 3 a year, and you realize, oh, now we've got our actual the strategy is we need to do these campaigns, right? The plan is budgets, timings, and dates. And it just gives you a natural pace to go do that.
And they're all tied to the marketing strategy. I think that's a piece that comes back to that first step where we all need that same language and we're all saying the same thing. And now we just have that cadence of campaigns that just take that and deploy that in certain areas and we just go after it.
Because what I see most common is it's like this quarter we're gonna commit to doing this campaign in Q1, and then halfway Q3 through Q1 we've moved on to something else, right? We didn't get enough time, or it's just kind of fizzled out, and we want to go this other direction.
Oh gosh,
and that is
the whiplash.
Yeah, it's the whiplash of hey, I was going after manufacturing, but we just closed a deal in banking.
Let's go over there.
let's go over there.
Right. Or we haven't we haven't asked for referrals in a while. Let's just go do that real quick.
Yeah,
It needs time to breathe. And
Yes.
It needs time for everybody to get their arms around, execute, start to see that and build that momentum for it before we kill it.
And I think on that, if you are a founder and you're in this phase of, hey, we've got campaigns going, know to your team, the most frustrating thing is killing those campaigns before they've had enough time. So really have a longer view on how long it takes. If your buying cycle is 6 months, and you talk to someone in the last day of your sprint, right? You got 6 more months to close that deal. So you just have to know that you got to commit. That frequency is important.
It's really important.
Just stay the line.
It's really important to call out.
Yeah.
And I think it's like almost like a pause moment here, because you as a founder can kill your ability to go from founder led to a sales engine at this moment if you don't allow this to work itself out. Because and I think naturally we know why we do it. It's because we're not seeing the ROI we want right away, or we have a better idea. We see a new idea that we feel like is, let's take the resources and go there. But when that's occurring, we're just creating this whiplash over and over and over, and we're not allowing our messaging and everybody to get behind it and allowing that campaign to really breathe and gain momentum. And giving your team confidence. And giving the team saying, okay, we started here, we ended here, we said we were going to end here. Now let's take a look. How'd we do? How'd we get better? There may be a little bit of a lack in opportunity at times when you go that way. But in a year from now or 18 months from now, when it's not fully reliant on you, you're going to be happy you stuck with it.
Yeah, and just a quick thought, this could be a totally different episode too, but as another common thing I see is service-based businesses wanting to productize their services. There's another continuum there of a service, right, to like a tailored service, to like a packaged service. But the idea of a product is the client doesn't get to change it every time they buy it, right? So that evolution too, to know as a service firm, moving to like packaged services that make it easy to sell is great. But sometimes I see this swing of like this vertical market, this needs this prescribed solution. And prescriptions don't work in services because you're not empathizing and understand that specific prospect's pain points, right? So you may have the solution, but you have to qualify the sell.
Or you think about, you just skipped 1 through 3. In that 5-step program we're talking about. You just went from, you didn't spend time in that target market. Playing with that. Understanding when you build a product, it's a different go-to-market strategy.
Correct.
The target market's different. The 3 uniques are different. The process of that is different. So you have to spend time in living that and building that out.
Correct.
Before you just go and go. Okay. So that's good. And then once we have those rolling, we measure, we adjust, we repeat, we have that cadence going. Now in that team, we start to build our playbook. And our playbook is solidified in our CRM system. So this is when we're really building the engine and we're building the systems around it. So as you continue to build as a founder, you can step completely out of sales if you desire, because now we have that system in place.
And another important point there too, going from a starter to a grower is, I don't know if there's any stats around this or not, but you go start something. You're going to probably be surprised on the low-hanging fruit relationally that you had for the first 18 months or so.
Yeah.
You're going to find success. You're going to tweak and turn knobs and do different things, because instead of having a strategy for who are going for outbound, you're getting inbound requests from people that know you and trust you. So it's your relationship that's getting you the business. It's not necessarily the solution for that target market. And so just knowing that there's a ceiling that happens about 18, 24 months where you start tapping out, where you didn't have a full go-to-market plan. And that's, I think that pivot, you have to have this go-to-market plan to get from that starter to that grower.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. That's kind of the 5-step approach. Any other thoughts or?
No, I mean, just hit your 5 titles really quick. I think this was I like your approach to this, bringing some structure to it. So
here's the approach of, in that grower stage of like how you go from, okay, I'm moving past starter and I'm trying to get to scale, right? One is build out the go-to-market strategy, and you have to live in it and tweak it. Don't abandon it.
Yeah.
Right. Just keep living in it using those 3. So once you have that and you're starting to get to 80%, you then break sales apart and defining what of the 5 categories that you want to live in.
And you as the founder.
You as the founder.
Can't live in 5.
You can't live in 5.
Yeah.
Right. I'm guessing it's typically is in solutioning or biz dev, right? So then you create triggers of when you're going to hire to delegate the other components of it. Once you start bringing in other people, you build a meeting cadence and you run campaigns. So you have accountability in a scorecard, you're looking at rocks for priorities, and you are doing 90-day sprints and campaigns in that group. And as that group matures, you're then you're using that team to build the systems for repeatability and build out your playbooks.
That is awesome. I think on this episode specifically, we're going to have some good show notes.
Yeah.
Have this where y'all can get this if you're listening.
And break it out. And just one caveat to this whole thing I want to talk about is that people matter. We have to find the right people in the right seats. But this is where I feel like sometimes as a founder, as an entrepreneur, we expect too much of people as they come in. We're trying to find a unicorn that can know everything that we know, which we've built our business off of our experience. And you just can't do that. So this kind of path helps you saves you from yourself or frustration of I'm just hiring people to try to do this thing and none of them can do it because they're not you.
And I'll just close on this. I won't say any names. So we have an office mate who I was talking to 2 days ago. He has spent 2 years writing his brain down. They now have a biz dev team and it's amazing. He wrote docs just in detail, and he used his thoughts. He used AI to write them, but now he's actually built a BD app, success app for his teams.
Incredible.
And he showed it to me. It's insane.
Yeah.
You just go in there and you ask it the questions and it gives you the playbooks and everything. So it is, I would say technologically now we are where you actually can dump your brain and people can get access to your thoughts and your strategies and the way you think without actually having to have your time.
I love it.
So, well, cool. Well, that wraps up today. This episode here, but next we got something new going on. What's up?
I think in a couple of days we're going to be back in the studio, and we have a good friend and partner and colleague joining us, Cam Lawson.
That's right. Cam's going to be here, and this will be awesome.
Yeah, so I think
we're the third leg to the stool.
Exactly right. We're going to do a little bit of a rapid fire networking and how to network effectively, along with the broader EOS world and some of the kind of the auxiliary tools, services that surround that potentially can strengthen implementation.
Awesome. We all look forward to that coming next.